Captain Eleanor Roosevelt stood at the viewport of the Earth ship Resilience, watching as they approached the massive space station that served as the headquarters for the Galactic Council. The structure was impressive, a spinning wheel of gleaming metal and crystal with ships of various designs docked along its outer ring. "Quite a sight, isn't it?" said Jack Delano, her second in command. Jack was a tall man with deep brown skin and a calm demeanor that had saved their lives more than once during the Unification Wars. Eleanor nodded. "Yes, but don't let it intimidate you. Remember why we're here." "To represent humanity," Jack said. "Not to bow down." Eleanor smiled. As the great-granddaughter of former United States President Franklin Roosevelt, she had grown up hearing stories about standing firm in the face of overwhelming odds. Now, as the captain of Earth's flagship and humanity's representative to the stars, those lessons felt more important than ever. Patricia Clark, their diplomatic advisor, joined them at the viewport. She was reviewing information on her tablet, her red hair pulled back in a tight bun. "I've been studying the council protocols," Patricia said. "They expect us to follow strict rules. When we enter the chamber, we're supposed to bow to each council member and speak only when spoken to." Eleanor raised an eyebrow. "Is that so?" "Well, they're in for a surprise." The shuttle that took them from the Resilience to the station was piloted by a being that looked like a blue-skinned humanoid with 4 arms. He didn't speak to them during the journey, though Eleanor noticed him watching them with what seemed like curiosity. When they docked and the doors opened, they were met by a thin, tall being with skin that looked like polished metal. "I am Kelvar, assistant to the council," the being said in perfect English. "You will follow me." The hallways of the station were filled with creatures of all shapes and sizes. Some looked almost human, while others were so strange that Eleanor couldn't tell which part was their face. Many stopped to stare at the humans as they passed. "They act like they've never seen humans before," Jack whispered. "Most of them haven't," Patricia replied quietly. "According to the briefing, we're the first humans most of these species have ever encountered in person." Kelvar led them to a large set of doors and stopped. "Beyond these doors is the council chamber. The 7 await you. Remember your place." The doors opened, revealing a large circular room. 7 beings sat in elevated chairs around the edge, looking down at a small platform in the center. The lighting was dim except for a spotlight on the platform. "The human delegation may enter," announced a voice that seemed to come from everywhere, at once. Eleanor led her team to the platform. She looked up at each council member, studying them carefully. To her right was a reptilian creature with green scales and yellow eyes. Next to it was something that looked like a giant insect, with compound eyes and clicking mandibles. Then came a being made entirely of what looked like blue crystal, glowing softly from within. The 4th member was hidden beneath flowing robes with only darkness visible within the hood. The 5th was a mass of tentacles arranged around a central eye. The 6th appeared almost human, but with skin that shifted colors like oil on water. The final member was a machine with gears and lights visible through transparent panels in its body. "I am Lord Xylus of the Drax Imperium," the reptilian being said. "This is the 7, the ruling council of the galaxy. You stand before us as representatives of Earth, a newly discovered world on the outer rim." Eleanor stood tall. "I am Captain Eleanor Roosevelt of the Earth Defense Force. With me are Commander Jack Delano and diplomatic advisor Patricia Clark. We come on behalf of all humanity." The insect being's mandibles clicked rapidly. "It speaks without permission," it said, its voice surprisingly melodic despite the clicking. "The humans have not yet learned proper protocol," said the machine being. "They are primitive." "Not primitive," said the crystal being, its voice like chimes in the wind. "Young. There is a difference, Nexus." Lord Xylus raised a clawed hand. "I am authorized to present Earth with the Standard Integration Treaty. Your world will be categorized as a Class C developing planet. You will receive protection and limited technology in exchange for reasonable resource quotas and limited service commitments." A holographic document appeared in front of Eleanor. She glanced through it quickly, and her expression hardened. "This treaty would make Earth a slave world," she said. "These resource quotas would strip our planet bare within a century. And the service commitments are just a fancy way of saying you want to draft humans as laborers or soldiers. Shocked, murmurs filled the chamber. It speaks out of turn again, hissed the insect being, which Eleanor now recognized as one of the Vesperi, from the briefing materials. And it refuses the standard terms, added the robed figure, voice like rustling leaves. Lord Xylus leaned forward. This is not a negotiation, human. These are the terms offered to all new species. Those who refuse find themselves unprotected, in a dangerous galaxy. Eleanor looked the reptilian counselor straight in the eyes. Humanity does not respond well to threats, Lord Xylus. We have fought our own wars, overcome our own challenges. We came here hoping to find friends among the stars, but we will not surrender our freedom for protection. The crystal being, one of the lumina, if Eleanor remembered correctly, emitted a soft glow that seemed almost like laughter. Interesting. Most species are eager to sign. Most species haven't spent their history fighting against oppression, Eleanor replied. We have. Lord Xylus stood up, towering over the platform. You will sign or you will face consequences. The council does not make offers twice. Eleanor smiled, but there was steel in her eyes. Then I'm afraid we have nothing more to discuss. Earth respectfully declines your generous offer. The chamber erupted in chaos. Several of the council members began talking at once. Only the Lumina representative remained silent, watching Eleanor with what seemed like approval. As they were escorted from the chamber, Patricia leaned close to Eleanor. That went about as well as expected. Actually, Eleanor said, it went better than I expected. They showed their true colors right away. Jack's communicator beeped. His face grew serious as he read the message. Captain, we're picking up unusual activity from the Drax fleet stationed near the station. Multiple ships are powering up weapon systems. Eleanor's expression didn't change, but her pace quickened slightly as they headed back to their shuttle. It seems Lord Xylus doesn't take rejection well. Contact the Resilience. Tell them to prepare for immediate departure. As they boarded, their shuttle, the blue-skinned pilot looked at them with what might have been respect. You stood up to them, he said quietly. No one stands up to them. Well, Eleanor said as she strapped herself in. They better get used to it, because humanity will never kneel. The shuttle detached from the station just as alarms began to sound throughout the structure. The first battle for humanity's future among the stars was about to begin. The Resilience burst out of hyperspace near Earth's moon, with 3 Drax warships in close pursuit. The ship's hull showed scorch marks from enemy weapons fire. Status report, Eleanor ordered as she entered the bridge. She had changed from her diplomatic uniform into a battlesuit. Shield strength at 60%, Jack reported from his station. We managed to outrun most of their fleet, but these 3 are persistent. Communications officer Lily Gordon turned from her console. Captain, Admiral Holloway is hailing us from Lunar Command. Eleanor nodded. On screen. Admiral Frank Holloway's weathered face appeared on the main display. Concern was clear in his eyes, but his voice remained steady. Captain Roosevelt, I see you've made some new friends. Not exactly friends, Admiral, Eleanor replied. The Galactic Council made us an offer we had to refuse. The Drax didn't take our answer well. We're tracking the situation, Holloway said. Our sensors show 50 Drax warships have entered the solar system. Most are still near Pluto's orbit, but they're moving inward fast. Eleanor's face remained calm, but her hands tightened on the back of her chair. 50 ships. That's quite a response to a diplomatic disagreement. They're sending a message, Holloway said. Earth Defense Fleet is mobilizing, but we have only 12 combat-ready vessels. The orbital platforms are at full alert. The Drax technology is advanced, Eleanor warned. Their shields can absorb most of our conventional weapons. Then we'll have to be unconventional, Holloway replied. Get your ship to safety, Captain. We'll need you for what's coming. The transmission ended just as the Resilience shook from another hit. They're getting better at targeting our engines, Jack reported. Eleanor took her command chair. Activate Operation Thermopylae. Jack looked at her with surprise. Already? We haven't tested it outside simulations. If those 50 ships reach Earth, there won't be time for testing, Eleanor said. Send the signal to the fleet. Jack nodded and sent the command. Moments later, the Resilience changed course, heading straight toward the moon's surface. B. 3 pursuing Drax ships followed, their weapons charging for another volley. They took the bait, Eleanor said softly. Lily, inform Lunar Command to stand by. As the Resilience skimmed the lunar surface, hidden missile silos on the moon opened fire, not at the Drax ships but at precise locations in space near them. The missiles didn't hit anything visible, but when they detonated, they created a web of quantum disruption fields. When the Drax ships passed through these invisible barriers, their shields flickered and failed. Immediately, Earth's lunar defense cannons opened fire, cutting through the now unprotected Drax vessels. 2 enemy ships destroyed, Jack announced. The 3rd is retreating. They'll be back, Eleanor said, and they'll be ready for that trick. Next time. She turned to her navigator. Take us to Earth. We need to prepare the planet's defenses. The Resilience docked at the orbital station above Earth 8 hours later. By then, reports were coming in from the outer planets. The Drax fleet had destroyed the research bases on Europa and Titan. They were systematically eliminating all human presence in the outer solar system. In the station's command center, Eleanor met with Earth's Defense Council. Maps and tactical displays covered the walls, showing the approaching Drax fleet. The Drax won't negotiate, Eleanor explained. Their culture values strength above all. They see our refusal to sign their treaty as weakness, as prey trying to act like predators. Then we show them we're not prey, said General Maria Ortiz, head of the North American Defense Zone. We fight. With what? Asked Director Paul Freeman of the Asian Alliance. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Dr. Samantha Wright, a physicist from Stanford University, spoke up. Maybe not centuries. I've been analyzing the data from the destroyed Drax ships. Their communication systems operate on frequencies similar to what we were developing for our quantum entanglement research. Eleanor looked at her with interest. Can we disrupt their communications? Possibly, Dr. Wright said. But I would need access to more data, preferably from their command ship. You'll get it, Eleanor promised. Admiral Holloway, do we have a plan for Earth's defense? Holloway brought up a holographic display of Earth. We've evacuated coastal cities and moved civilians to underground shelters. Our fleet will engage them here, near Mars orbit, trying to slow their advance. The orbital platforms will be our second line of defense. And if they get past those? Eleanor asked. Then it's ground combat, General Ortiz said grimly. We've armed every available person. No Drax soldier will set foot on Earth soil without a fight. As they discussed strategy, alarms blared throughout the station. A lieutenant rushed into the room. Admiral, the Drax fleet has accelerated. They'll reach Mars in 2 hours, not 6 as we predicted. They're not following standard attack patterns, Eleanor realized. Lord Xylus must be commanding personally. He wants to make an example of us. The Defense Council rapidly adjusted their plans. Ships were repositioned. Emergency broadcasts went out to Earth's population. Eleanor returned to the Resilience with a heavy heart, but a determined mind. Her crew was tired but ready. All hands to battle stations, she ordered. Set course to join the fleet at Mars. As the ship pulled away from the station, Eleanor took a moment to look at Earth through the viewport. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land masses. Her home, humanity's only home. Captain, Jack said quietly beside her. Do you think we have a chance? Eleanor turned from the viewport. The Drax expect us to surrender when we see their full fleet. They expect us to kneel when they threaten our cities. They don't understand humans very well. We've never faced an enemy like this, Jack pointed out. And they've never faced humans. Eleanor replied with a small smile. We're about to show the galaxy what that means. The Resilience joined 11 other Earth ships in Mars orbit. Together they formed a small defensive line against the approaching armada. On the bridge view screen, Eleanor could see the Drax fleet, massive vessels shaped like arrowheads, their hulls decorated with red markings that looked like claw scratches. This is Captain Roosevelt to all Earth vessels, she broadcast. Today, we fight not just for ourselves but for every species that has been forced to kneel before the Council. Today we show the galaxy that freedom is worth fighting for. No matter what happens, remember, Earth stands free. The Drax fleet entered. Weapons range. The battle for Earth had begun. The battle near Mars was brutal and short. Earth ships fought bravely, but they were outmatched by the Drax technology. Within an hour, 3 human vessels had been destroyed. The Resilience took heavy damage to its port side when it moved to shield the wounded Defiant. Hull breach on decks 5 through 7, Jack reported, his face lit by the red emergency lights. Automatic seals holding. Eleanor gripped her command chair as another blast rocked the ship. Status of the fleet? Not good, Jack said grimly. The Indomitable and Valiant are gone. Horizon has lost engines. The others are falling back to Earth's orbit. Eleanor studied the tactical display. The Drax fleet was advancing in a perfect formation like a giant arrowhead aimed at Earth. Their precision was impressive and terrifying. New contact, Lily announced from communications. It's huge, at least 3 times the size of the other. Drax vessels. A massive ship emerged from behind Phobos, one of Mars' moons. Its hull was black with red markings and it bristled with weapons. That's Lord Xylus's flagship, Eleanor said. The Sovereign. They're hailing us, Lily said with surprise. Eleanor straightened her uniform. On screen, Lord Xylus appeared, his scaled face showing what might have been amusement. Captain Roosevelt, your resistance is admirable but pointless. Surrender now, and I will spare your cities. We both know that's not true, Eleanor replied calmly. The Drax don't show mercy to those who defy them. You know our reputation well, Xylus said. Then you know what comes next. Your world will burn and the survivors will serve. You don't know humans very well, Eleanor said. We don't surrender easily. Then you will die bravely but foolishly, Xylus replied before ending the transmission. Eleanor turned to her tactical officer. Status of Operation Thermopylae Phase 2? Ready, Captain, the officer replied. Dr. Wright has uploaded the targeting data. Execute, Eleanor ordered. Throughout the solar system, hidden human probes activated. They had been placed years ago, part of an early warning system. Now they served a new purpose, emitting carefully calculated quantum signals. On the Drax ships, communication systems suddenly failed. Ship-to-ship coordination became impossible. Their perfect formation began to break apart. It's working, Jack said with amazement. They can't talk to each other. For now, Eleanor cautioned. They'll adapt quickly. All ships, this is Captain Roosevelt. Fall back to Earth. Implement attack pattern Delta. The remaining Earth ships retreated, drawing the confused Drax fleet toward Earth. As they approached the planet, Earth's orbital defense platforms opened fire, targeting the now disorganized enemy vessels. Several Drax ships fell to the concentrated fire, but more kept coming. The Sovereign led the way, its massive weapons tearing through 2 defense platforms. They're launching landing craft, Jack reported, targeting major cities. Eleanor watched as dozens of smaller vessels detached from the Drax ships and headed toward Earth. Inform ground forces. The invasion has begun. The battle for Earth continued for 3 days. On the ground, humans fought with everything they had. Regular military units were joined by civilian volunteers. Each city became a battlefield, and the Drax learned that taking territory was not the same as holding it. In New York, a Drax commander was shocked when construction workers sabotaged their own buildings, collapsing them on advancing Drax troops. In Shanghai, elderly citizens led enemy patrols into ambushes. In Lagos, children served as lookouts, helping resistance fighters stay 1 step ahead of the invaders. The Resilience remained in orbit, coordinating Earth's defenses. Eleanor hadn't slept in days. She reviewed reports from around the world, looking for any advantage. Captain, Lily called from communications. I have Dr. Wright on the line. She says it's urgent. Samantha Wright's face appeared on screen. Her lab coat was dirty and a bandage covered one side of her face. Captain, I found something. The Drax communication disruption gave me access to more of their data than I expected. Their command ship, the Sovereign, it controls the entire fleet through quantum entanglement. Like a hive mind? Eleanor asked. Close enough, Dr. Wright replied. If we can capture the Sovereign's control center, we can potentially shut down or redirect the entire Drax force. Capture, not destroy? Eleanor asked. Destruction would just disconnect the ships. They'd revert to individual control, Dr. Wright explained. But capture gives us access. Eleanor turned to Jack. Assemble a boarding team. We're going after the Sovereign. Jack looked concerned. Captain, that's extremely risky. So is letting Earth be conquered, Eleanor replied. She looked back at the screen. Dr. Wright, can you help us navigate their systems once we're aboard? I believe so, the scientist replied. But I'll need to come with you. 3 hours later, a small stealth shuttle detached from the Resilience. Inside were Eleanor, Jack, Dr. Wright, and a team of 10 soldiers. They approached the Sovereign from below, using debris from destroyed satellites as cover. Their point defense systems are focused on the orbital platforms, Jack reported. We have a small window to dock near their engineering section. Eleanor nodded. Take us in. The shuttle silently attached to the massive Drax flagship. Using cutting tools, they created an entry point and slipped inside. The interior of the Drax ship was hot and humid, with reddish lighting that cast everything in a blood-like glow. The team moved through narrow corridors following Dr. Wright's directions based on the ship schematic she had extracted. They encountered surprisingly few Drax. Most of the crew was either at battle stations or coordinating the ground invasion. The command center should be 2 levels up, Dr. Wright whispered, checking her device. But it will be heavily guarded. We need a distraction, Eleanor said. She turned to 2 of the soldiers. Harris, Chen, I need you to create some noise in engineering. The soldiers nodded and moved off. Minutes later, alarms blared throughout the ship. Eleanor's team used the confusion to approach the command center. Outside its doors stood 4 large Drax guards. Ready? Eleanor asked, drawing her weapon. The team nodded. They moved as one, firing stun weapons at the guards. 3 fell immediately, but the 4th managed to sound an alert before Jack took him down. We're blown, Jack said. We have minutes at most. Then let's not waste them, Eleanor replied. She placed shaped charges on the command center doors. Everyone back. The explosion tore through the doors. Through the smoke, Eleanor led her team into the Drax command center. Inside, a dozen Drax officers reached for weapons. In the center of the room, on a raised platform, stood Lord Xylus himself. You, he hissed, drawing a ceremonial blade. You dare board my ship? This ends now, Xylus, Eleanor said, her weapon pointed at his chest. Call off your forces or you won't live to see the outcome. The Drax warlord's yellow eyes narrowed. Humans truly are as foolish as they are brave. He lunged at Eleanor, faster than she expected. His blade sliced through her armor at the shoulder. She fell back but kept her weapon steady. Before Xylus could strike again, Jack fired, hitting the Drax Lord in the leg. Xylus roared in pain but remained standing. Around them, human soldiers engaged with the Drax officers in close combat. Dr. Wright slipped past the fighting and reached a control panel. I need 2 minutes, she called to Eleanor. You don't have 2 minutes, Eleanor replied, firing at another approaching Drax. Make it 1. The battle in the command center was fierce. 3 of the human soldiers fell. Jack took a hit to his side but continued fighting. Eleanor found herself face to face with Lord Xylus again. Your species will be remembered as a footnote, he growled. A brief curiosity that defied the natural order. Or, Eleanor said, we'll be remembered as the ones who changed everything. At that moment, Dr. Wright shouted, I've got it. Ship control accessed. Xylus turned toward her, distracted for just a second. It was all Eleanor needed. She fired, her shot hitting the Drax Lord squarely in the chest. He fell to his knees, his yellow eyes wide with shock. Impossible, he whispered. Eleanor stepped forward. That's a word humans don't understand very well. Dr. Wright worked quickly at the Drax command console while Jack and the remaining soldiers secured the room. Eleanor kept her weapon trained on Lord Xylus, who remained on his knees, a look of disbelief on his scaled face. The shot hit his armor. Jack reported after checking the Drax Lord. "He's injured, but not fatally." "Good," Eleanor said. "We need him alive." "Captain, I've accessed their fleet control systems," Dr. Wright called out. "I'm sending the command to cease all attacks." On the main display screen, they watched as Drax ships across Earth's orbit suddenly stopped firing. Landing craft halted their descent. Ground forces froze in place. "It worked," Jack said with amazement. Eleanor turned to Lord Xylus. "Your fleet is under our control now. This invasion is over." The Drax Lord's yellow eyes narrowed. "You think this ends here? The Council will send more ships. They will never allow a primitive species to humiliate the Drax." "Then we'll deal with them too," Eleanor replied calmly. She activated her communicator. "Roosevelt to Resilience. We have control of the enemy flagship and have ceased all Drax military operations. Inform Earth's governments and military commands." Lily's voice came through with static. "Resilience acknowledges, Captain, you actually did it." "Not just me," Eleanor said, looking at her team. "Get me Admiral Holloway." Within minutes, the Admiral's face appeared on the command center's screen. His uniform was dirty and a cut ran across his forehead, but he was smiling. "Captain Roosevelt, reports are coming in from around the world. The Drax forces have stopped fighting. Some are even retreating to their ships. What did you do?" "We captured their command ship and control systems," Eleanor explained. "And we have Lord Xylus himself as our prisoner." Holloway's eyes widened. "That's incredible. What are your orders for the enemy forces?" Eleanor looked at Dr. Wright, who was still working at the console. "Doctor, can we command them to return to their ships?" "Yes," Dr. Wright replied. "I'm figuring out their command protocols. I can issue retreat orders." "Do it," Eleanor said. "Admiral, inform ground forces not to fire on retreating Drax unless attacked first. Let's not push our luck." "Understood," Holloway replied. "What about their fleet?" "We'll keep them in orbit for now," Eleanor said. "I have an idea." Over the next 2 days, the Drax ground forces returned to their ships. Reports of human casualties came in from around the world. Thousands had died defending their planet, but millions had been saved by the capture of the Sovereign. Eleanor spent hours questioning Lord Xylus. At first he refused to speak, but eventually his curiosity about humans got the better of him. "Your soldiers fought house to house, street to street," he said during one session. "Even your children helped resist. Why?" "Because freedom matters to us," Eleanor replied. "Throughout our history, humans have fought against those who would rule them by force. Many species value freedom," Xylus said, "but they accept reality when faced with superior power." "That's the difference," Eleanor explained. "Humans don't accept that reality. We change it." On the 3rd day after capturing the Sovereign, Eleanor met with Earth's leaders via holographic conference. Representatives from every major nation gathered virtually to discuss their next steps. "The Drax fleet remains in our control," Eleanor reported. "But Lord Xylus is right about one thing. The Council will send more ships when they learn what happened." "Can we defend against another attack?" asked the President of the African Union. "Not directly," Eleanor admitted. "But we have an opportunity here. The Council has kept other species in line by convincing them resistance is futile. We've proven that's not true." "What are you suggesting?" asked the Prime Minister of the Asian Alliance. "I suggest we take the fight to them," Eleanor said. "Not militarily, we can't win that way, but politically. We use the Drax fleet to take Lord Xylus to the Galactic Council. We show everyone what happened here, and we challenge the Council's right to rule." There was silence as the leaders considered her words. "That's extremely risky," said the European Federation Chancellor. "You would be walking into the center of their power. With the commander of their fleet as our prisoner," Eleanor pointed out, "and with evidence that their military is not invincible." After hours of debate, the Earth leaders agreed to Eleanor's plan. A delegation would be formed, with representatives from each continent. They would travel aboard the Sovereign, escorted by the captured Drax fleet with the Resilience alongside them. As preparations were made, Jack found Eleanor in her temporary quarters aboard the Drax flagship. The engineering team says they've figured out how their FTL drive works, he reported. We're making modifications to the Resilience based on what we've learned. It should cut our travel time to the Council homeworld in half. Eleanor nodded. Good. What about Dr. Wright's team? They've downloaded as much data as they could from the Drax systems, Jack said. It's already being used to improve our defenses in case this plan doesn't work. It has to work, Eleanor said quietly, looking out a viewport at Earth below them. We won't get a second chance. The delegates are nervous, Jack admitted. Some of them have never even been to space before, and now they're heading to an alien political center. They'll do fine, Eleanor said. They just need to be themselves, stubborn, argumentative humans who refuse to give up. She smiled slightly. The Council won't know what hit them. 1 week after the invasion, the Earth delegation departed the solar system. The Sovereign led the way, followed by 10 Drax warships. The Resilience flew alongside, its hull still showing battle damage. On the bridge of the Drax flagship, Eleanor stood with Earth's delegates. Lord Xylus, now in restraints, watched them with a mixture of hatred and reluctant respect. The journey to the Council homeworld will take 17 days, Eleanor informed the delegates. Use that time to prepare your arguments. We won't just be asking for Earth's freedom, we'll be challenging the very foundation of how the galaxy is governed. An older delegate from South America spoke up. Captain Roosevelt, what if they simply arrest us all when we arrive, or destroy our ships? They might try, Eleanor acknowledged, but remember, the galaxy is watching now. News of what happened at Earth has already spread through Drax communication channels. Other species will be paying attention. She walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. For thousands of years, the Council has ruled through fear. They've convinced everyone that resistance leads only to destruction. We're bringing a different message. What message is that? Asked a younger delegate from Australia. Eleanor turned back to face them. That freedom is worth fighting for, and that humans will never kneel. As the ships accelerated to faster-than-light speed, the stars outside streaked into lines. The journey to the Galactic Council had begun. Eleanor knew that what awaited them would determine not just Earth's future, but potentially the future of the entire galaxy. Lord Xylus watched them from his restraints. You truly believe you can change laws that have stood for millennia? We've spent our entire history changing laws that needed to be changed, Eleanor replied. Why stop now? The journey to the Galactic Council homeworld took 17 days. During that time, Eleanor and the Earth delegates prepared for the confrontation ahead. They studied everything they could learn about Council protocols and laws from the Drax ships' databases. Remember, Eleanor told the delegates during their final planning session, the Council has ruled for thousands of years because no one has challenged them directly. We need to show not just strength, but a different way of thinking. As they approached the Council homeworld, other ships began to notice them. The sight of a Drax fleet led by the Sovereign was normal, but the presence of the Earth ship Resilience flying alongside was not. We're receiving transmissions from the Council station, Jack reported from his position at communications. They're demanding to know why Lord Xylus is returning with an Earth vessel. No response yet, Eleanor ordered. Let them wonder. The Council homeworld was a massive planet with 3 moons. Orbiting it was a space station even larger than the one Eleanor had visited for her first meeting with the Council. Ships from dozens of species docked at its outer rings. Multiple defense platforms are targeting us, Jack warned. Their weapons are powered, but not yet active. Eleanor nodded. Now we respond. Open a channel to the station. A being with shimmering blue crystal features appeared on the screen. The Lumina Council member. I am Zephyr of the Lumina, the being said, its voice like chimes in the wind. The Council demands an explanation for this unusual arrival. Eleanor stepped forward. I am Captain Eleanor Roosevelt of Earth. We come with Lord Xylus of the Mo, Drax as our prisoner, and his fleet under our control. We request an emergency session of the full Galactic Council. Zephyr's crystalline features shifted in what might have been surprise. This is unprecedented. The Drax fleet captured? Yes, Eleanor said simply. And we have evidence that the Council authorized an unprovoked attack on Earth, a violation of your own founding treaty. There was a long silence. Finally, Zephyr spoke again. Dock at Ring 7, a security team will meet you. The Council will convene in 6 hours. The transmission ended. Eleanor turned to the delegates. This is it. Are you all ready? They nodded, their faces showing determination despite their nervousness. What about me? Lord Xylus asked from where he stood under guard. Am I to be paraded before the Council like a trophy? Your evidence, Eleanor replied. Evidence that the mighty Drax can be defeated when they choose the wrong enemy. 6 hours later, Eleanor led the Earth delegation into the massive council chamber. Unlike the smaller meeting room where she had first encountered the Seven, this was a vast amphitheater with thousands of seats. Representatives from hundreds of worlds were present, all watching with obvious curiosity. The Seven sat on an elevated platform at the center. Lord Xylus was brought in under guard, causing murmurs to spread through the crowd. This emergency session will come to order, announced the machine being Nexus. We gathered to address the unprecedented situation involving Earth and the Drax Imperium. The insect-like Vesperi counselor's mandibles clicked rapidly. This is an outrage. The humans must release Lord Xylus and the Drax fleet immediately. We will do no such thing, Eleanor responded, her voice calm but firm. The Drax attacked Earth without provocation, on the orders of this council. We defended ourselves. The Council gave no such orders, the robed counselor said, its voice like rustling leaves. Eleanor raised an eyebrow. Then Lord Xylus acted on his own? Attacking a newly discovered species for refusing a treaty? Is that how the Galactic Council maintains order? Uncomfortable murmurs spread through the chamber. The Standard Integration Treaty is not optional, said the tentacled counselor. All new species must accept Council protection. You mean Council control, Eleanor corrected. Earth chose independence. For that choice, the Drax tried to conquer us, and somehow failed, Zephyr of the Lumina noted. The first time in recorded history a Drax fleet has been defeated. Eleanor nodded to Dr. Wright, who activated a holographic display. It showed images from the battle for Earth, humans fighting, street by street, ordinary citizens joining soldiers to defend their homes. Humans have a long history of resisting those who would rule us by force, Eleanor explained. When we arrived at the council, we hoped to find friends among the stars. Instead, we found another empire. You speak of friendship, yet you capture council ships and threaten our order, the Nexus machine being said. We defend ourselves, Eleanor replied, and we come here not just for Earth, but for all the species who have been forced to accept your rule. She turned to address the entire chamber. Many of you represent worlds that signed the integration treaty because you had no choice. You gave up your freedom for protection. But what if there was another way? The chamber grew quiet. Earth proposes a new treaty, Eleanor continued. One based on mutual respect, not domination. One where all species have a voice, not just the ancient Seven. One where worlds can choose their own paths while still working together for common goals. Preposterous, the Vesperi counselor clicked. The council has maintained peace for thousands of years. Through fear, Eleanor countered. That's not peace, it's just quiet. Lord Xylus laughed unexpectedly. The human speaks the truth, though it pains me to admit it. Our peace is built on the threat of what happens to those who defy us. He looked at Eleanor with a mixture of hatred and respect. Until now, that threat was enough. Zephyr's crystalline form glowed more brightly. Perhaps it is time for change. The Lumina have observed for millennia, watching the council grow more rigid, more controlling. When we first joined, it was to share knowledge and protect emerging species, not to dominate them. Other representatives began to speak up, a tall, blue-skinned being rose from its seat. The Taurans have been a protectorate for 2,000 years. We would support this human proposal. More voices joined in, some in support, others in outrage. The Seven tried to restore order, but the chamber had erupted in debate. Eleanor watched as centuries of suppressed discontent poured out. Species that had been silent for generations were finding their voices. The Nexus Counselor raised its mechanical hands. Enough. This human has no authority to propose changes to our ancient laws. Then put it to a vote, Eleanor suggested. If the Council truly represents the galaxy, let the galaxy decide. The Council does not vote on fundamental matters, the robed counselor stated. Perhaps it should, Zephyr said quietly. Then, louder, I call for a vote on the human proposal. All representatives present may register their position. The other council members protested, but it was too late. Representatives from hundreds of worlds were already signaling their support. After an hour of chaos, the results were clear. The majority favored reform. The 7 would become a larger body, with rotating membership. The integration treaty would be optional, replaced by mutual defense agreements. Independence would be respected. As the details were worked out, Jack approached Eleanor. You did it, he said with amazement. You changed the entire galaxy in one day. Eleanor shook her head. Not me. All of us. Every human who fought for Earth, and every species who wanted freedom but didn't have the strength to demand it alone. Later, as the Earth delegation prepared to return home, Lord Xylus requested to speak with Eleanor one last time. The Council has reduced the Drax punishment to reparations rather than territorial concessions, he informed her. For that mercy, I suppose I should thank you. It wasn't mercy, Eleanor replied. Just justice. Xylus studied her face. You humans are strange creatures. You could have destroyed us, demanded our territories, used our fleet for your own conquests. Instead, you changed the rules of the game. That's what humans do, Eleanor said with a small smile. When the rules aren't fair, we don't just break them, we rewrite them. The Drax Lord was silent for a moment. The galaxy will be a more chaotic place now, a more free place, Eleanor corrected, and in the long run, a stronger one. As the Resilience departed the Council station to begin the journey home, Eleanor stood on the bridge looking out at the stars. Thousands of ships from dozens of worlds were also departing, carrying news of the changes throughout the galaxy. Captain, Jack said, what happens now? Eleanor smiled. Now the real work begins. Building something new is always harder than tearing something down. But humans are good at building too. She touched the ship's emblem on her uniform, the silhouette of Earth with olive branches surrounding it. Our ancestors dreamed of reaching the stars. I don't think they imagined we'd end up changing them so quickly. Roosevelt's unbreakable spirit, Jack said. Not just you, all of humanity. Eleanor nodded. The day the Council realized humanity would never kneel was the day the galaxy learned to stand together. The Resilience accelerated to light speed, carrying the Earth delegation home, not as representatives of a minor world on the galactic fringe, but as the architects of a new era of freedom among the stars.